All right, so most of you know I'm Lindsay Putker. I'm a nurse here on the inpatient unit, and I am looking at the health issue that we have in our community of physical inactivity. So the first I want to say the purpose of this. So I wanted to educate people in the community about physical activity and why it's important. I also want to talk about what the community is already doing for physical inactivity and how we could still improve this. So as we go through, we're going to see a lot of the health risk factors and some other diseases that physical inactivity can cause. And then we're also going to go through community interventions, individual interventions, and how we can improve it. So the objectives, so what I would like for you guys to be able to learn today is at least 3 opportunities that our community already has to improve physical activity. And then another one is to identify 3 health risks that physical inactivity can cause. And then to be able to identify 2 ways an individual can increase their own physical activity. So not even just what the community can do, but what we can do for ourselves. So first I want to say why I chose this health issue and how I actually chose this was we went into the county health rankings where you're able to click on your county and see where we rate among Illinois and national goals with health issues. Physical inactivity, we have a 27% right now in Madison County, Illinois, where we live. The state average is only 20% and the national average is 22%. So we're above the national and state average for our physical inactivity. Another thing, physical inactivity and obesity run hand in hand. So the less physical activity you get, the more obesity we see in our community. So we also saw that obesity was at 34% in Madison County, Illinois. The state average was 26 and the national average is 28. So our county is above the state and national average in both obesity and physical activity. So it was definitely something that caught my eye. I know that we see a lot of patients that struggle with this, and also I struggle with it myself. So that's why I chose this issue. Okay, also when talking with Amy Leifer, she is our Director of Philanthropy and Community Benefit here at St. Joseph's Hospital in Highland. And we actually do a community needs assessment in our community, and one of the top things was obesity. So she actually noted this, and then she said that one of the goals to challenge the obesity was to develop more exercise and activity opportunities. So this is something that our hospital is looking at as well as a community needs health assessment. So why is physical activity so important? Like I kind of mentioned earlier, physical inactivity causes a lot of other things besides just obesity. So whenever we are not being physically active, we're at a higher risk for stroke. We're at a higher risk for high blood pressure, hypertension. We're more apt for high cholesterol, diabetes, and cancer. So all of these things are raised because we're not getting enough physical activity. And other things such as depression, decreased coping mechanisms, and negative feelings are also ways that our mental health is being affected by physical inactivity as well. So some statistics, there are actually 300,000 deaths per year due to unhealthy eating and physical inactivity. And then only 1/3 of the population obtains a healthy amount of physical activity. So there's actually guidelines of how much activity a person should get a day or a week, and only 1/3 of the population is hitting that mark. So throughout the years, so this was something that sparked my interest just to see why only 1/3 of the population is getting that activity now. So I wanted to look throughout the years. So in 1950, as you can see, 30% of the population had high activity occupations where they were moving, where they were actually being active in their jobs. In 2000, 22% of the population had high activity jobs. So it decreased 8% in 50 years with how much we were moving at work. In 1960, 67% of the population drove a car to work. So some people may have walked to work, some people may have rode their bike to work back in those days. In 2000, 40 years later, only 88% did drive their car to work. So that was about a 20% jump with how many people drove their car. So that was less activity with just even getting to work. And then in 1969, 40% of the children rode their bikes to school, and in 2001, only 13% did. So this just shows maybe why we're having some of these issues. A lot more people are using vehicles now. A lot more people with technology have more desk jobs where we're sitting more. And we're also just we might not have access with how busy our society has become. It may be hard to get access to get to work through a bike trail or by walking. So we're all just so busy that we don't want to use activity anymore to get places. We want to get there as fast as we can. So this does kind of show why maybe we've seen an increase. Okay, so barriers to physical activity. A lot of it could be cost. So exercise programs or places to go exercise, such as in Highland, like the Cordy Rec Center. It may just be too expensive for people to go. Some people, for their willpower, they need a personal trainer to help them, and that's really expensive. So sometimes it's just the cost that people aren't able to get that extra help to do that activity. Lack of knowledge. So some people might not know that physical inactivity does impact their health. So they may not know that it can cause stroke, cancer, all of these things. So it may just be a lack of knowledge that they're supposed to be getting this much activity in a day or a week or whatever. Transportation. So like I was kind of saying, we have a lot more ease of transportation now, so we can drive our car just up the road instead of walking. So transportation is a huge thing of why we're not getting all that activity. We can just get to places quicker with what we have now. Self-consciousness. So sometimes people feel self-conscious going to a gym or working out in front of people or getting out and walking where cars are going to be driving by or just anything. So some people may just feel self-conscious about getting out and getting that activity and other people seeing them. Time. So we're all so busy. We have jobs. Some people have children. Some people may be in school, taking care of their parents or whatever it may be. So we don't make time for it, which I think this is honestly the biggest barrier to physical activity, because we can't fit it in. We have so much stress that we just can't find time for that. So that is a major barrier. Technology. So like I said before with the occupations, we have a lot more desk jobs now. We have a lot more temptation to sit on the couch and watch movies. I know that's definitely one of mine, that I definitely would just rather sit and watch TV and relax instead of going out and going for a walk or going to the gym or whatever. I know video games, some people find that entertaining. So it's just a lot of this technology too kind of veers us away from doing anything that's actually physically active. Some illnesses, so chronic pain, COPD, and any of those chronic illnesses that people see, sometimes it's hard for them to exercise. So they may feel, they have joint pain or back pain, or and they may feel like exercise just isn't even an option. They can't do it. So that's definitely a barrier. And then there's some environmental barriers that the community can look at. So making sure the sidewalks are good, that there's, you can ride your bike on it, that there are walking trails, that there are bike trails, especially to places that you would need to go run errands to. So I know, like in town, even here in Highland, there's not many places for you to be able to go ride your bike to the grocery store. It's just too busy up there to where you would just rather drive your car. And some places, I know when I've even tried to ride my bike or walk, the sidewalks are so bad that you're afraid to go. So just those environmental barriers. Are there any other barriers that anybody can think of? Anything? All right.
I will say, when I did my community assessment need for my class, I did see a lot of sidewalks that were messed up in town. Definitely, like with my kids, I want to take them to the park and pull them in a wagon, and it's almost impossible because some of them are so bad and so bumpy that it makes it more difficult. So
absolutely, yeah, I noticed that as well. We, for one of our assignments, we had to drive through town and just see things in the community that could be a barrier, and that was definitely one of them. So.
Even out in the country, we don't have sidewalks.
Right.
That's true. We have a lot of rural areas. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
with it building up, the farther you get out of town, you can't walk. Where I live, you can't walk to work. It's so far. It ain't happening. So.
Start the night before.
Yeah.
I know. Some people are like, well, I work 40 miles away. And I'm like, okay, well, then you don't need to walk. But,
right.
Yeah, those people that are in town, though, that's definitely something that we should look at as a community, just make sure that we have everything available for people to be able to get that activity. So, all right, and then things that we do already have here, the Cordy Rec Center. So that has basketball courts, walking tracks, exercise equipment, a pool. So that's a really beneficial place for our community to be able to get activity. It's a great place that you could go with people and get social support. I know they have exercise classes, things like that. They have outside walking trails. So that's definitely a benefit that we have. We do have some bike trails that were actually just built. So that's a really good thing. The walking trails, we also have those. We have parks that you can walk through, hike through. We have multiple exercise facilities. I think there's probably like 5 or 6 that you could go to for exercise classes. And then we have our cardiac rehab program here at the hospital, which is really great for the patients that we see here and some of the senior citizens in our community. And then community events. So we had a heart walk. I know cardiac rehab put on a glow bingo that had trivia in it about physical activity or about heart health. And so all of those community events as well also bring, awareness to everyone, not even just our patients, but to everyone in the community. Is there any other ones that I'm missing? Anything I'm missing?
Well, under the cardiac rehab, we also have a program called Healthy Pathways. And so you pointed out that for senior citizens, but it's not only for senior citizens. So we've got done as young as 23 and as old as 93.
Wow.
So it runs the gamut. And so it is a self-pay program. So it's kind of like the rec center. So I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with that, but same way. So it works on the chronic diseases, but it also works on helping people feel more comfortable about exercise and what do I need to do and how much is enough and how much is not enough. So sometimes it's a transition to doing on your own.
So you've done as young as 23, and they don't have to have a chronic illness.
No, they have to just have a release from their physician to do it.
Wow.
Does it cost?
We charge $50 a month, but they can come 4 days a week.
Wow.
And once they learn how to set the machines and staff is comfortable with how they're doing it, then they can come and go at different times during the day, what works for them. So we flex their times. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's awesome.
And I don't think a lot of people
No.
realize.
Realize
So,
that
you know,
healthy
like if they
pathways.
don't fall under that they're going to qualify for cardiac or pulmonary rehab, there's still another option for them.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. That actually goes into my next thing about cardiac rehab here. So, like she was just saying, that healthy pathways would be a really huge thing to maybe we can advertise more, that younger people can go to, because you know a lot of people may think that it's just for those older folks. So that would definitely be something that would be really beneficial. Cardiac rehab, so it teaches about heart and lung health. It's involved in starting and maintaining an exercise program for people, and then it provides exercise regimens for those who want supervision and help with those chronic diseases. So it just it creates that support system for you to be able to get that activity and get an exercise program that works for you. So that's a great. I know we have Pat here, so that's a great thing that we have here at the hospital. So how to increase physical activity? So individual interventions. So what can we do ourselves that can increase it? So keep yourself educated on physical activity. Why do we need it? Why is it so important? If I don't do it, what am I at risk for? So keeping yourself educated on that. Walking, riding your bicycle to destinations, not always just jumping in your car. Trying to find different ways to get to places if it's within reason, you know, not like 30 miles away, but just in town. Trying to use those instead. Participating in exercise programs, you know, with your friends, join an exercise class or something. Find that social support that you'll be able to keep up with your activity. Like I said, join a support system. And then participate in committees that promote activity. So there is all kinds of committees and boards that you can be on to help bring this issue up and making sure people are aware of why this is important and making yourself aware as well. And then community interventions. So providing an environment that's accessible for activities, so fixing those sidewalks, things like that. Getting more bike trails, getting more walk trails. Promoting programs that are increasing community activity. So the whole community getting behind this healthy pathways in our cardiac rehab program, or really any event that we have that would promote physical activity, getting programs to go behind that so that it can be even bigger and better. Making new programs that increase activity. There's always, you can build anything at any time. So creating programs that would increase exercise and creating policies that promote exercise as well. So in conclusion, an increase in physical activity is a need for this community, as we saw with the community health rankings. And then physical activity can cause many risks to your health, mental and physical. There are beneficial interventions being done by our community already, but there are definitely interventions that we can learn and teach others and grow with as well. And were there any questions? No? All right. I did give the slides to you guys so you can take and use those as a reference at any time. I also will have a quiz. It's not really a quiz, but it's something where you can list what we talked about and making sure that I did teach all of the objectives. So I will be sending that as an email to you guys if you could fill that out as well. And I thank everybody for coming.